Our investors, absolutely. So that could be finance investors, it could be full market value investors, it could be JV partners, or it could be our vendors. Our vendors make more money, we can do them a better deal if the deal gets more complex, agreed? If I'm buying a property from you, Tony, I can structure it in such a way that I can give you over market value. I can give you 150% of market value, I can give you a great monthly income, we can do it so that I don't pay stamp duty now, which means I could give you, if I'm buying £1 million property, stamp duty on £1 million, anyone know? 75k, give or take. So if I'm not paying 75k, I can give that to you. If you've got a nice £1 million property, I can give that to you now. I can monetize it over 15, 20 years. I can give you lumps when perhaps I refinance it at some point, or I could make it really complicated. I could help you refinance it and give you a lump of money and carry on the control now, pay later, and then I can buy it from you in 15 or 20 years time. Is that a complex deal? You betcha. Better for you than me buying it now. Because if I buy it now, I might only be able to give you not even 750k, I might be able to give you 650k because I've got to pay stamp duty and lawyers, etc. So now I can give you 1.3 million perhaps, and I can give it in staged payments, and I can give you interest on it. But we're making it really complex. As the complexity goes up, so too does the profit for you, for me, for everyone. Based on that, should we make our deals complicated or simple? Based on that green line.
Complicated.
You'd make them as complicated as possible, except we don't. And one of the issues for you guys is you're making your deals too complicated, but you look at that and you think they can't be too complicated. The more complicated they are, not for complexity's sake, but generally, the more complicated the deal, the more profitable it is for everyone. But what we're not considering here is the second axis. And what's that red one? Yeah, but it's not actually, because it's going up. So it's like, likelihood of the deal falling through. Now then, we often say that our interests are the same as the vendors. They're aligned, right? We say that, don't we? Do you use that expression like that? Do you do that in front of your vendors? You should do. You should have that little bit of patter where you say to your vendor, so normally solicitors talk about the other side, buyer and the seller. Don't use the word vendor with a vendor, use the word seller because it's not jargon. They're opposing, we're opponents. These solicitors even talk about the other side. But the great thing of a BMV deal like this, a sophisticated transaction, is you want this to go through as much as I want to buy it from you, so we are aligned, we're on the same team. Actually do that and do that. Because if they're visual learners, they're going to remember those expressions. So, we are in alignment with the vendor, by the way. The vendor, what's their top priority? To get their problem solved or to make as much money as possible? Problem solved, 100%, right? If they have to sell in the next 6 weeks, or they're going to go bankrupt, and their redemption figure is 650k, yes, of course they prefer 700k for the property or 750k, but their priority is they get 650k in the next 6 weeks. Make sense? And let me ask you, is your priority making a ton of money on a deal or getting the deal over the line and making some money? Which is it?
The latter.
The latter. We just want the deals to work. If we make the deals so good for us that we do no deals, we're losers, right? Would you rather make 10%, like we've got 10, 20, 25, 31, 35 deals there, right? That you guys have done over the last, there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of you, over the last 2.5 years. It's amazing, by the way. Would you rather do that many deals and keep all of your profit, or would you rather do twice as many deals and have 10 or 20% less profit on each one? The latter, obviously, right? So we are in alignment with the vendors. Why are we in alignment? Because we want the deal to complete and they want the deal to complete. Notice I'm using the same visual body language for them to remember it. We're on the same side. So when we look at this, the likelihood of the deal falling through, where's this line going to go, Shane?
Over time it's going to raise.
So we're going to start,
start at the back.
There's no time here, okay? So do I start bottom or top here?
The complexity, the likelihood of falling through is going to start at the top.
So it's going to start up here. Do we agree? If the deal's really simple,
Sorry.
it's going to start here, isn't it?
Sorry.
It's going to start here.
Yeah.
And then what's going to happen to the chance of it falling through?
Oh, it's going to increase.
It's going to increase, it's going to go up like that, yeah? And so now you have to balance it. So now you have to think to yourself, right, I want to make them some profit, but if I go too high, the deal's going to fall through. Another way of me showing this would be to draw this another way. I'm doing this in 2 different ways to show you the sweet likelihood of deal completing. And so if it's a really simple deal, what's the likelihood of the deal completing? If it's a really simple deal, really high, so it starts here. As the deal gets more complex, what happens? It comes down, right? Until it's really complicated. Imagine you stand in front of 100 vendors and describe what I've just described to you. They're all going to say no, right? It's down here at 0. But if I said to 100 vendors, your property's worth $1 million, I can give you 650 for it now. It's so simple, some of them will say yes. And the ones that say yes, by the way, this isn't how many say yes, it's how many who have said yes complete. Really important. The ones that say yes, the ones that you sign up, actually go to completion. We're talking about this conversion rate. So here, you have to pick a sweet spot. So you don't want it so bad that it's so simple. Like an extreme example would be you've got £1 million property, 40 quid. Let's have it now. I'll have your title, right? That's here. That's as simple. yeah, he's putting it in his pocket. It's hey, is it 60? I've overpaid. Yeah, my 20.
Noticed about
I thought it was 40. So I've given him 40 quid for the property. I'll put that in my pocket. I've made it as simple. Complexity is really simple. We're going to do it right now. I can sign him up onto an option, walk him down to the solicitors, but he's going to say no to that. So I'm not talking about the yes and the no. I'm saying once I've made you an offer that you accept, you're never going to accept 40 quid for a £1 million asset. Once I've made you the offer, if it's too complicated, it's going to fall through, even though they've said yes. Now let me tell you why I'm teaching you this. If you remember, we talked earlier about the reasons you guys are not getting a higher conversion rate. One of them was you tell me, what were they? What were the reasons? We put 3 or 4 of them on the board. I'm pretty sure I asked you to write them down.
Not building rapport.
lack of rapport.
Lack of rapport with the vendors, absolutely. Not building enough trust. Self-sabotage. What else? Feel free to look.
Too much complexity and lack of rapport, trust, self-belief.
Belief was another one, lack of belief, right? So here, if you've got too much complexity, now think about this. Think about what you've been offering. If you sit in front of a vendor, let's use easy numbers, okay, 100 grand property, and you say, Ian, I can pay 100 grand. Sorry, your house is worth 100 grand, I can pay 75 for it. Does that work for you? Most vendors will say, what, yes or no?
No.
No. Even the ones that are gonna say yes later, most say no. Because they know they should negotiate, right? They've had some experience of buying a car or buying a house, or they don't want to be taken for a ride, that's fair enough. So he's most likely to say no. Say no for me.
No.
Cool. So he says no problem at all, Ian. Well, let me tell you, what I can do is I can actually pay you 100 for it. Does that sound better?
I like the sound of that, Frank.
Absolutely. So here's how it's going to work. I'm going to give you 50 now. I'm going to actually leave the property in your name. So you're going to become like a mortgage lender on it. I'm going to start paying your mortgage for you, and then I'm going to give you £100 a month for 15 years, and then I'm going to pay you the 100 for it then in 15 years time. He's already said yes, right? Because he wants the 100 grand. Now how do you think he's feeling? Well, you tell me how you're feeling.
What are you talking about, Frank?
He lost me at, like, are you buying it? Am I keeping it? I'm a mortgage lender? I thought the bank was a mortgage lender. You see where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
And I used an extreme example, I've taken 30 seconds. But it doesn't matter how long you take. If you are doing control now, pay later strategies with vendors, they instantly are deals up here, instantly. This is control now, pay later. You cannot do them simply. Do they stay in his name? Are they in my name? That's complicated. How does he trust that I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do? What happens if I pass away? What happens if he passes away? What happens if the property burns down? What happens if I go bankrupt? These are all things that you now have to deal with up here. I'm not saying you shouldn't do control now, pay later, but you shouldn't aim to do control now, pay later. Because if you do, you're going to end up with a 40% conversion rate, or a 63% conversion rate, or a 75% conversion rate. So if you do a B&B purchase and you buy it in 28 days, where's that on the complexity conundrum? Not from your perspective. It might be really complicated for you. You might have to get a finance investor, or you might have to do an option. You might have to do TDIC in terms of flipping it onto a full market value investor. We don't care about your level of complexity. That's our job. It's the complexity from the vendor's perspective. So if we're doing a B&B purchase from their perspective, I'm just giving you 75 grand today, Tony, or I'm giving you 75 grand today. Where does it sit on there? It sits right over here, doesn't it? It's nice and simple. 4-week completion, 75 grand in your pocket. I'll pay all your legals. I'll fill in all the forms. It's as simple as can be. These, I want you to write down. Let's call these B&B, because that's what most of them are. And let's call these control now, pay later, I want you to tell me of all the deals you've done, when I say done, signed up, not completed, of all the deals you've signed up, how many were BMV and how many were control now, pay later? And I want you to fill in the following, okay? Cool. So, these are the numbers I want you to write down. In the last 12 months, I want you to tell me A, the number of BMV offers you've made. So write your answer down there. Letter B rather, is the number of control now, pay later offers you've made. Now C is going to be very interesting. C is the number of both offers you've made. Now both is this. Ian, I give you 75 grand for your house. Does that work for you? What are you going to say?
Nope.
No. How about I'll offer you 100 grand over time then? Now I've made him both offers, yeah? Do you understand? So here is I can make you 75 grand. What do you say? No problem at all, Ian. Our service isn't for everyone. I'll put my offer in writing to you. If anything changes in the future, I'll leave that with you. That is an A. That's BMV offer. That would be one. I've offered that to Ian. An alternative is, Mr. Multimillionaire, your £10 million worth of land and property, I can buy that off you. Now, based on your situation, you've told me that you need £1 million a year for the next 2 years, and then actually you'd be happy with 100 grand a year. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put together a proposal that gives you £1 million this year, £1 million next year, and then 100 grand a year for the next 10 years, and then I'll pay the balance of the 10 million. Does that kind of a solution work for you? That's a control now, pay later offer. You don't have to have explained the whole structure, but do you get it? It's paying later. So that would be, oh, Mr. Multimillionaire, I've offered that. So that would be control now, later. Now, I've not said I'll give you 6.5 million for it, because he's going to say no, he's a businessman. That doesn't, unless you think it will. But there, I've made a control now, pay later. And the final one, C, is where you've done a BMV and you've instantly given them a control now, pay later. Okay, so write your answers down there. And then the final one.
These are offers, not things that have been signed up.
Offers, correct. So number of, do this in a different colour, it'll make it
You're
easier.
effectively talking about TFFs and just lead follow-ups, Frank.
Say that again.
You're just basically talking about the follow-up in your leads. Every lead would come in, like whenever you would.
Well, this could be help visit or it could be TFF. It depends where you're making your offer. Yes, it's quite likely to be TFF. You're absolutely right. So in D, the number of completions here. So these are offers you've made. These are completions in A, B, and C. Do you understand? So you're going to give me 6 numbers. Number of BMV offers you've made, and then how many completions from that. Number of control now, pay later offers you've made, and the number of completions from that. And then finally, number of C, which is where you've offered both simultaneously or very quick succession, and the number of completions from that. Do you understand what you're doing? Now, I'm not expecting you to be able to reel off absolutely accurate numbers right now, and that's fine, but what I do want you to do is approximate it, because you'll get the learning from the approximation. You can go back to your office and go through you'll almost certainly get your numbers wrong, but hopefully you'll be able to approximate it, and you can go and look at your actual data and think, oh my goodness, I can't believe been doing this and not realising it. Facts don't lie. Your figures are objective. Subjectively, we think it's going great or we think it's going rubbish. Objectively, we can see where we're going wrong and what we're doing right. So here's what I'm going to predict, okay? I'm going to predict that when you've made BMV offers, I'm going to make up some numbers, okay? Let's just use 100. If you had made BMV offers to people, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you my numbers, okay? An approximation of my numbers. I think that'd be more useful. So I think this is one of my strengths. I think this is why I get quite high conversion rates. I will most of the time make a BMV offer. I'm going to say that 90 out of 100 offers I make are BMV. 90. That might surprise you. These are what I think you should be aiming for. In fact, I'm going back over the last 10 years as a percentage, and I'm going to do this better. These are my actual numbers. I reckon about 90% of my actual ones, especially in the early days. And best practice, no one's perfect, is you're aiming for 95%. You're aiming for 95% of those BMV offers. I think I probably averaged about 90 over the last 10 years. Definitely early on I did less than 90. How many do you think control now, pay later deals I offer? when I'm sat in front of a vendor? What percentage?
I'd have thought pretty high.
I know. I did this with England and Wales. They were putting 60%. They thought 60% of my offers would be control now, pay later. It's way lower, way, way lower. It's actually 5%, and you're aiming for 5%. That's what you're aiming for. If you're offering more than 5%, what's going to happen to those when they're accepted? They're likely to be accepted, but what then happens to them? They fall through. If you're offering 30%, 40% of your deals as control now, pay later, you're just going to have fall-through rates through the sky. Big problem. Is this a moment of revelation for you, Tony?
It is for me, I have to say.
Yeah, and that's why your fall-through rate are so much higher than England and Wales, in my opinion. It's because you're offering too complicated. I know that's bad English. Your offers are too complicated. So C for me has been historically 5%, but your best practice is 0%. Why is best practice 0%? It confuses them. So what is he offering? Is he offering 75 grand or is he offering 100 grand? And is he paying now or is he, oh my goodness, I don't get it now. This guy doesn't know where he's coming or going. A confused mind doesn't buy, right? Now, over the last 10 years, I have offered too many like that. You have to get away from this, have to, in order to get this conversion rate up. So, what you want to be aiming for is the majority of your offers being 95% and a very low number being control now, pay later. I'm going to go through in a minute how you get your B&V people to say yes. Because if you know that most are going to say what? No, even the ones that are going to say yes later say no initially. And if you take that as their final answer and then move on to something really complicated, what are you almost guaranteeing? No sale. Does that help you, Shane? Does that help them? You're doing them a disservice, guys. This isn't hocus pocus. It's not like smoke and mirrors. You're actually there to help them, right? You're there to help them. If you bring enough value to the world, you're going to make the money that you want to make. You're going to have the success that you want to make. If you help no one because you stuff up your sales process, because you're offering C on all of them or B on all of them, you're not serving them. Now you're not solving any problems, or you're solving a fraction of the problems you could be solving, and now you're not going to hit your goals. You're not going to hit your success.